A bid to force us to pay GST on all our online purchases has us divided. Kiwi retailers are on board, of course. They've been saying for years that the current system's deeply unfair, but it would mean an end to the good times of grabbing online bargains. The government is determined to do something. Of course, it is losing out on $200 million every year. Mark Johnson is from the Retailers Association and joins us now. Good morning to you, Mark.
Good morning, Ali.
You have been calling for this for years, so you'll be really pleased to hear that the government is keen on some sort of crackdown here.
Absolutely. We've been talking to the government for a number of years about this loophole. Effectively, it's a reverse tariff, which means that consumers are actually charged more when they shop locally, either in store or online. And that means that local retailers can't compete fairly with offshore websites who don't have to charge GST.
Now, really the only way to make this happen is to get retailers across the board, international retailers, to sign up to our GST, isn't it?
Yeah, the Prime Minister said yesterday that the government's working with the OECD, and I think other countries have a similar challenge in terms of charging sales tax on goods entering across the border. You're probably going to have to look at a couple of ways to do it. One would be to have foreign retailers who are selling into New Zealand online register for GST, just the same way that businesses here have to register for GST, and they collect that revenue at source. The other way is where high-value goods come in currently, customs will charge the importer duty and taxes on those goods. So that's the other way. You're probably going to have a mix of both.
And at the moment, they've put that threshold at $400 because it seems silly to chase up amount of money that's going to be, the taxation will be so low.
That's right. We've got the second highest threshold for GST and duty anywhere in the world. Australia is the only country that's higher. They have a $1,000 threshold. If you look at countries like Canada or the UK, for example, Canada's 20 Canadian dollars and the UK's £15. So somewhere around $20, $30, maybe $25 here would seem to make more sense. It's more in keeping with the rest of the world.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So you would be happy enough if that threshold was brought right down to, say, $20. So it does include, you know, your CDs and your books and most things, but just not your dollar song here and there off iTunes.
I think for low-value goods, yeah, a threshold that's lower, maybe $25, possibly even $50, would make more sense, and it would be better for us in terms of being relative to the rest of the world. In terms of high-value goods, yes, there's a big tax take. It's a big loophole, and the government's missing out on a lot of money.
Could this really be the turning point for New Zealand businesses that are really struggling to fight the online market?
We know that a lot of retailers have closed as a result of online competition from offshore retailers. So 15% is a lot. The reality is we're shopping in a global borderless environment now. You can go online 24/7 and look at ranges right across the world. But I think here in New Zealand we've got some great retail, both in-store and online. And the range is getting better all the time.
An example that I thought of, the business that may have sunk due to this very issue, would be CD sales, because people think, well, I'll just go buy my entire album on iTunes. But now if the difference was only just a couple of dollars or a few dollars, well, you may as well actually go have a physical album and have it on your iTunes.
True. I think at Christmas time, Ali, we saw a bit of a renaissance in terms of books and music in particular.
Yeah. People
going out and buying physical books, CDs, and old vinyl as well, LPs. So I think it could well change the way that people shop in those categories.
And not only just under 400, but at the moment, I mean, the government did an audit and say purchases that are coming in from overseas that are between 400 and 800, well, people are just lying about how much they cost. So slipping under the radar, saying they're 300. So really, it could catch purchases to a much greater amount than 400.
Absolutely. And I think it comes back to businesses having to register to pay GST and collect that tax at source. If that happens, that's going to take away all of that ambiguity where people do under-declare how much the value is.
I appreciate you coming on our show this morning, Mark Johnson from Retail New Zealand. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Ali.